So the other day I learned of this cool little slab glitch. Look at that. Well, unfortunately there was a sacrifice to be made of, the onion, bro. Oh, shit.
And if you think you're better than me, gonna kill you and I'll keep killing you and I'll never, because you're gonna be dead.
Don't worry, I already know what you're doing here, what you're hoping for. That after mostly playing luck build since launch, that I would come here and cheerily impart some bleed knowledge to breathe, hopefully, some air into this game. Right?
Wrong.
Well, shocker, there's a reason no one uses either bleed infusions or buffs anymore. In this video, we will cover the plethora of issues that, in my opinion, makes bleed both the worst infusion type and auxiliary effect in the game. Now let's collectively all do ourselves a disservice and talk about bleed. Part 1. Doing damage. So, you may remember that bleed does burst damage as a reward for aggressive play. Well, if that's the case, let's see examples of this. I thank the person that decided to stand still, essentially, for this demonstration. And in this fight, notice my skill and finesse of the bleed type to get this bleed off. Okay, that's all the positives. Part 2. The amount of hits it takes to make someone bleed out is absolutely ridiculous, and the amount of resistance people have against bleed in this game is utterly atrocious. So starting now, I will be using a hit counter to keep in mind the amount of hits between either me hitting someone for the first time and getting the bleed, or dying. So in this first invasion, we're actually not going to have that bad of a time. I'm starting on a high note, actually. 5 hits really is not that bad. If bleed was like this more often, it wouldn't be worthy of a video as scathing as this one. But I honestly couldn't tell you why I was able to get the bleed so quickly. Unfortunately for us, things are going to go downhill from here pretty darn fast. So this guy has his wits about him. He's a pretty decent player, it looks to be. And he's got heavy armor. Keep that in mind because when someone's wearing good armor, bleed works almost none of the time, especially if they know how to hit the roll button. And honestly, I feel like this guy only got bled out eventually because he didn't realize that this is a bleed build. And also notice that the majority of my hits have been on his shield. If I was using any form of elemental damage, I would have popped through his shield and gotten some actual decent hits on him way earlier than this. 11 hits. 11 hits and bleed finally pays off. And it's not even that large of an amount. He's at half HP now. If we were just chipping through his shield, yet again with any other elemental infusion, I would have probably already broken through him by now. 7 more hits within short succession, still no bleed. This duel right here is actually the reason that I started the hit counter, because as you'll see here very soon, the amount of hits that I get without any form of recompense is, it's not good. So this guy, as you should be, is wearing heavier armor, and it is going to make the amount of hits I need absolutely astronomical. And yes, I'm aware with the hit counter that technically bleed in terms of build-up decays over time, which already is not even helping it. It's still, if it was worth your time, it should not take so many hits to get some form of reward and have that reward not even be that good. 9 bleed hits. If I was using any other infusion or build, this battle would have concluded a while ago. Part 2.5. Karthus Rouge is not worth your time ever at any and all times ever. Midway through wanting to delete all of my bleed weapons, I had an idea for a setup. Put Karthus Rouge on a hollow weapon with innate bleed. In the offhand, have a good weapon and bleed infuse it. That way, I still have good damage, extra luck for bleed procs, and a good bleed buildup on the hollow weapon. With this setup, you should be doing wonders in the damage department, but it's only because of your hollow weapon, as you could have guessed. This is on paper the way to do it for a competitive bleed build, but still, you manage to never proc the bleed. If you're gonna combo this hard, just use 2 hollow weapons and use bundles. Karthus Rouge is such a piece of shit. Oh yeah, while I was trying this out, I ran across someone who either watches the Grim Sleeper or is the Grim Sleeper. Probably the first one. And then it hit me that bleed can't do shit against someone good with crossbows. That rings true with any good passive setup, but crossbows just rub salt in the wound, man. Despite this attempt of a clutch bleed combo, no bleed, nothing comes of it. Part 3. Infusing your weapon with bleed takes away like half of your damage for some reason. So, if you've been watching, you'll have noticed by now that bleed infusion completely guts your DPS like a damn pig. Why? Look at this fight. I outspace him once. I outspace him again. Look at his HP. Any other build, and this guy is toast. No bleed to boot, of fucking course, and I lose because I didn't roll the latency hit. Okay, can I delete these things now?
Know your fucking place, trash.
But wait, it can be worth it for that glorious moment. You get the proc and boom! Wait, what? What? Why isn't he taking any damage? Part 4. Rolling the bleed damage. And with that, do I really need to say more? People are already aware of bleed being pretty bad, but I wanted to communicate the frustration of bleed. If you want to play with good bleed, you have 3 options. 1. Uninstall the game. 2. Play Dark Souls 1, where it's actually pretty darn good. Or 3. Play Champion's Ashes, a mod for Dark Souls 3. Seriously, I might actually make a follow-up video about this, just talking about bleed and that mod, because it's really, really good in comparison. But actually, I remember saying something, some time off in the distance just 2 years ago. Something about bleed and invasions.
But you see, bleed takes a different playstyle, and that is making your opponent not get off you. Okay, you see where I'm going with this? Because the more they don't run away, the more you can build up bleed, and then all their fucking health is gone, and that's a very small amount of HP you need to roll catch them for.
Well, now time to waste more of your time by talking without a script over some invasions where I use bleed infusions. Buckle up, because we're going to talk about bleed invasions. Okay, so we are now solo hosting in Gank City, and there's quite a lot that I want to talk about when it comes to doing exactly that, because I've been doing this for probably, I don't know, a month straight now, and I have many grievances with this. When I watched Silly Dog's episode about solo hosting, and he just said that it's boring, I know that he was referring to it being boring in a different way because it wasn't hard enough for him, but I find it annoying in a different way. I find it annoying in the way that the majority of invaders are beyond annoying to fight against. And there's 2 archetypes to why. One is something you'll see here very soon, and it is that a lot of players, especially the ones that are super squishy, have the worst internet connections ever. Like, players that... I just got messed up right there. That have the worst internet connections, but they have the worst builds ever. This man right here, let's name him Eduardo Splitleaf Greatsword Pants. This guy, if he knew how to do the weapon art combo with that thing, I would have folded so much longer ago. Like, there's no skill to be had in this fight right here. Honestly, I should have just thrown myself off the side of the world, because this is excruciating. So the first archetype is laggy or very latent players. Sometimes it's because they might as well be playing this game on Wi-Fi on a laptop, which I imagine is what this person here is doing, playing on a fucking toaster. But the other type is people that either are from, like, Brazil or some shit like that, or just have, like, you know, not the greatest connection, or even if it's the sort of people that are using, like, a Chinese VPN or something, and they're able to hit you very cleanly. On your screen, it looks clean in terms of the time it takes for the animation to look like it should have hit you, and when it actually hits you. But, you know, of course they're able to do it with an insane amount of phantom rage too. But what I have always happened in that situation is that I don't feel, at least, like I have the same treatment. I know latency goes both ways, but God, it does not feel like it. So yeah, you can literally get, like, the cleanest punish on an Ultra Greatsword user with a PKCS, but they still have, like, a second to roll, even though you just smacked them in the face. Stuff like that. And the other archetype is the sort of player that will Fapring glitch you and do the pacer test all the way around the playable area. And it's never good invaders I see do this, because they do that when there's 4 players they're trying to fight. I'm talking about the sort of people that, like, waggle L1 at you constantly as though they're memeing on you, and, you know, they're probably wearing the Thrall hood, and their build's really not that good. It's just like Dark Moon Blade on Sellsword Twin Blades or some shit. Or, you know, maybe they're just a really, really glass cannon mage or something. But the sort of people that are pretty pretentious, those are the 2 archetypes that make me not want to host, honestly. Like, it really sucks, because those type of people are the people you're going to come across most often. But it is still worth it. And the reason is for that small chance that you get someone that's either a streamer or is just really good at the game, has been playing for a long time, and actually has a worthwhile connection. Yesterday, actually, I was playing against some of the people that were in the chat of certain PvP streams, and it was really fun fighting them. I felt like I actually learned quite a lot from those encounters. I didn't have the memory to actually record those so I could go over them, but let it be assured that I got my butt kicked multiple times. When I get invaded by people like that, like, it's super fun, because it feels like I'm actually interacting with somebody. It doesn't feel like I'm just playing, you know, Roll Souls 3, and it doesn't feel like I'm playing Fat Glitch 3, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, back to the actual point of this video. I'm using holo weaponry right now because the bleed just doesn't work. This entire section was to go over bleed, but I do not use it for quite a large amount of the time because it's absolutely unbearable. Bleed does way too little damage, and it might have worked against players that either play Xbox or, you know, 4 years ago when the game first came out. Bleed used to be better back then too, but it's just way too little damage to possibly be useful in invasions. Because, I mean, you guys have probably heard the both meme and mantra that burst damage is where it's at. Bleed is the worst type of burst damage.
Wait, what? Let's see what helmet is best. This one, probably.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer. Bruh. I can feel my neck.
It's the best.
Oh, nigga! Oh, my pussy!
So these next couple clips are actually against some player that I actually don't know who it is, but he plays like he's actually played the game before. And I literally spend like 7 minutes in this guy's world just brutalizing Aldrich Faithfuls because I hate them so much. And you know, I've actually come to realize that I've sort of been playing devil's advocate against my own belief system here recently. What I mean by that is not only am I hosting, which I used to never do, but I also am killing fellow invaders, and I don't believe in doing that. But at the same time, when people... Yeah, I'm just skipping through all the long-ass time that I'm just fighting random Aldriches. But, I mean, my question is should I be blamed for just wanting to get people like that out of the world? Because they're so detrimental to everybody. They are not good co-invaders. I do not believe in killing co-invaders. If there's a good co-invader and I'm just trying to duel the host, I will Black Crystal, but that almost never happens. When it's somebody that's, you know, playing 27 Vigor meta, and those sorts of people are always the laggiest for some reason, don't ask me why, and they're just attacking everybody, hell yeah, I'm gonna kill them. I don't care. Like, I wanted to duel this guy because he was really nice and he screwed me up quite a lot. I don't know, it's just interesting the emotions I've been feeling recently in terms of invasions, because I feel like I'm either I'm switching to the dark side, or I'm just thinking about things in a way I've never thought about them before. I don't know, you tell me. So yeah, this guy was nice enough to let me fight him a multitude of times, and he is going to land a lot of backstab fishes on me, which I'm trying to get better at, because I'm currently not that good at it. I end up run attacking a lot. Not in this particular clip, but in terms of just on my free time when I'm doing it, I do that a lot. And because I'm just fighting this guy in this secluded area, Bleed is actually not going to do too terrible of a job, because when Estus is in play, Bleed does get the slightest bit of a buff on paper. And the reason is because if you have the ability to heal, in the long run you're going to be taking more hits as a result. So technically Bleed will be able to proc more often, or more times in a single situation. Good gracious, what he just did to me was brutal. Yeah, I want to learn from what he just did right there and just look at like the flaws in my play. But real quick, yeah, I think I will come back maybe in another video on the topic and cover the Karthus Rouge and Bleed setup. I really don't feel like it's going to do anything spectacular at all, but I didn't do it in this play session, so who knows. So yeah, we're clearly just having a bit of fun. He's charge attacking all over the place, but I feel like there are things in terms of especially backstab fishing that I'm learning. You'll see that throughout the course of these fights, is just how many times, there was like one time I got him, how many times he just truly outplays me, in all honesty. Yeah, he read that so well. I actually tried getting the charge, but I've gotten used to having nothing in the offhand, so I can weapon art swap really fast. I do not know why he did not get hit by that running attack there. I don't know if that's a latency thing or just merely a Dark Souls 3 thing. I don't know. Actually, something that I learned just the other day is how something special about how bleed works on dual-wielded weapons, such as the Warden twin blades and twin axes, something on those lines, is that the amount of bleed you get in terms of buildup is not proportional to what you would expect. You would think double the weapon, double the bleed up, but it's actually weaker than that. It's effectively 50% more bleed than if you were using a single weapon, right? If that made sense, I hope it did. If you're just using the R1 of the Warden twin blades, that was another fantastic fish by him. If you're using the R1 versus the L1, the L1 doesn't have twice as much bleed. It has 50% more. So, you know, that's nice. There is something kind of nice about bleed, though, and that is it sort of makes you realize how nice it is actually dealing damage to people, because after torturing yourself for so long with bleed infusion, you're just like, wow, I'm doing damage. Oh my god. Yeah, and you know, that's also something I want to talk about, is that I think part of the biggest reason that bleed was seen as so much better back in the early days of Dark Souls 3 was that it was just tied to good weapons at the time. The main example is the Karthus Curve Sword. Good gracious, he is out of this world with those, whatever they're called. But I think I might actually make a video about how the Karthus Curve Sword sort of carried bleed in the early days, and maybe the Ubadachi as well, because I think bleed is sort of a necessary evil to encourage aggression against shields for physical builds. And in this case, it's Hollow, where because Hollow gets the benefit of it, but it's terrible, and I really don't understand that logic, because in the same game that bleed is atrocious, the Black Knight shield exists, and I know there's elemental damages, but why can't bleed do a decent job as well? Its payoff for hitting a shield should be higher than elemental weapons, because you're not doing any damage in the meantime. And yeah, he gives me the good old 1-2 there. Good fights by him. I'll talk to you guys more over Invasions later. Peace out.